The alarm cut through the silence of Earth Defense Station Alpha like a blade. Commander Daniel Hayes stopped mid-step in the corridor, his coffee forgotten in his hand. Red lights flashed along the walls. In his 20 years of service, he had never seen this particular alarm. It was the one they drilled for but never expected to face. All senior staff to command center, this is not a drill. Daniel dropped his coffee and ran. Other officers joined him in the corridors, their faces tight with concern. The command center doors opened before he reached them. Inside, dozens of screens showed star maps, tactical displays, and communication channels. Every station was manned. Every face looked grim. "Report," Daniel said as he took his position at the central console. Lieutenant Brandon Cole looked up from his station. His hands moved across the holographic display, pulling up data streams. "Sir, we received an emergency transmission from Ambassador Laura 30 minutes ago. The Galactic Assembly has issued a formal declaration." Daniel felt his stomach drop. "What kind of declaration?" "War, sir. The Empire has declared war on humanity." The room went silent. Someone dropped a data pad. The clatter echoed. Daniel stared at the screen. The official seal of the Empire glowed there, ancient and terrible. The same Empire that had discovered humanity 6,000 years ago. The same Empire that had trapped humanity in their own solar system ever since. "Get me everything," Daniel said quietly. "Every communication, every piece of data. I want to know why this is happening now." The next hour blurred together. Daniel reviewed files, old treaties, recent diplomatic exchanges. The story emerged like a nightmare taking shape. 6,000 years ago, humanity had launched their first faster-than-light probe. It was crude, barely functional, held together with human stubbornness and wild ambition. But it worked. It crossed into another star system, and found it. First contact should have been humanity's greatest moment. Instead, it became their greatest tragedy. They studied Earth from orbit. They watched humans fight wars, build cities, reach for the stars with desperate hunger. They saw a young species, violent and unpredictable, advancing too fast. They saw a threat. They were not alone in their fear. A dozen other spacefaring species agreed. Humanity was dangerous. Humanity had to be contained. So they came to Earth with an ultimatum: sign the Treaty of Terra or be destroyed. Humanity, with their handful of barely functional spaceships, faced an armada of 10,000 alien warships. They had no choice. The Treaty of Terra was simple and brutal. Humanity could keep their home system. They could advance their technology. They could trade with other species. But they could never, ever leave the solar system. If even one human ship crossed that boundary, the Empire would return and burn Earth to ash. For 6,000 years, humanity obeyed. They built colonies on Mars, Europa, Titan, and 100 other moons and asteroids. They created wonders of engineering and science, but they remained prisoners in their own home. Daniel had grown up learning this history. Every human child did. It was the defining fact of human existence. They were the quarantined species, the ones too dangerous to be allowed freedom. "Sir," Brandon said, pulling Daniel back to the present, "we have the official charges from the Empire." Daniel read them on his screen. His jaw tightened with each line. They claimed humanity had developed prohibited weapons. They claimed humanity had violated the treaty. They demanded complete and immediate surrender. "This is garbage," Daniel said flatly. "These charges are lies. Pull up our weapons development records. Everything we build is monitored by 3 separate galactic agencies. We have not violated anything." His second officer, Lieutenant Sarah Park, brought up the data. "Sir, you are correct. Every weapon system we have is within treaty limits. These charges have no basis." "Then why?" Daniel muttered. He dug deeper into the intercepted communications. The military channels were encrypted, but human code breakers had gotten very good over 6,000 years of practice. There, a conversation between 2 admirals. Daniel read it once, then again to make sure he understood. The Empire was dying, not literally, but their power was fading. For 6,000 years, they had ruled a vast section of the galaxy, but their technology had stagnated. Their population was declining. Other younger species were catching up to them. And humanity, trapped in their solar system, had spent 6,000 years doing nothing but preparing. Human technology was now equal to or better than anything they had. If the treaty ever ended, if humanity was ever released, they would explode across the galaxy. They knew it. They feared it. This war was not about treaty violations. It was about fear. They had decided to destroy humanity before humanity could challenge them. "Sir, we have incoming," Brandon said urgently. "Long-range sensors detecting multiple fleet signatures entering the outer solar system." The tactical display updated. Daniel watched as red markers appeared, spreading across the screen like a disease. 1 marker became 10, 10 became 100, 100 became 1,000. "How many?" Daniel asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "Over 10,000 ships, sir, the entire war fleet." The room went silent again. 10,000 warships. Humanity had maybe 200 combat-capable vessels, and most of those were patrol ships, not warships. They had brought enough force to sterilize every planet in the solar system. "Sir, incoming transmission," the communications officer said. "It is from High Commander. He is demanding to speak with Earth's leadership." "Put him on screen," Daniel said. The changed appeared tall and with 4 arms and compound eyes that gleamed like oil. His translator rendered his clicking speech into flat, emotionless human language. "Humans of Earth," said, "you have violated the Treaty of Terra. You have developed weapons of war. You threaten the peace of the galaxy. Surrender now and you will be allowed to survive as a supervised species. Refuse and we will reduce your worlds to dust. You have 1 solar day to decide." The transmission ended. Daniel stood in the silence that followed. Every eye in the command center turned to him. They wanted orders, they wanted hope, they wanted him to tell them what to do. He thought about 6,000 years, 6,000 years of waiting, 6,000 years of being told they were too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. 6,000 years of watching other species travel the galaxy while humanity remained trapped like animals in a cage. He thought about all the human colonies scattered through the solar system. Millions of people living on Mars, Europa, Titan, in orbital stations and asteroid habitats. All of them living under the shadow of that ancient treaty. All of them raised knowing they were prisoners. "No more." Daniel opened a communication channel to the entire Earth Defense Force. To every ship, every station, every colony. "This is Commander Hayes," he said. His voice was steady. "You all know what is happening. The Empire has come to destroy us. They claim we violated the treaty. That is a lie. The truth is simple. They fear us. They fear what we will become if we are ever free, so they have decided to kill us while they still can." He paused, letting that sink in. Captain Lee gripped the command chair as his ship, the Resolute, accelerated hard toward the enemy. The acceleration pressed him back into his seat with crushing force. 8 times Earth's gravity. His vision narrowed at the edges. His chest felt like someone had stacked bricks on it. But he could still think. He could still give orders. "Tactical status on enemy formation," he said through gritted teeth. Lieutenant Brandon Cole worked his console despite the crushing acceleration. His fingers moved across the controls, slower than normal but still functional. 500 ships in standard defensive pattern. They are spreading out to envelope us, sir. Smiled despite the pain. Let them spread out. Let them think 20 human ships against 500 was hopeless. They were about to learn why humanity had survived 6,000 years on Earth. Earth, the planet with gravity that crushed, whether that killed, and disasters that came without warning. Humans grew up under 3 times the gravity of any other spacefaring species. They evolved to handle it. Their bones were denser, their muscles stronger, their hearts more powerful. And that meant human pilots could do things that would kill anyone else. "All ships," broadcast to his squadron. "Execute pattern Delta on my mark. Remember your training. Show them what humans can do." The fleet moved with mechanical precision. Their battle computers calculated trajectories, weapon ranges, optimal firing solutions. They had fought 1,000 battles. They had won them all. This would be no different. Except it was. Mark said. 20 human ships suddenly broke formation. They did not scatter randomly. They moved like hunting wolves, each ship taking a precise vector calculated for maximum chaos. And they accelerated. The Resolute's engines roared, felt the G-forces climb, 9 times Earth's gravity, 10 times, 12. The medical readouts showed his crew stressed but functional. Human bodies, trained and augmented, could handle it. Any other species would have blacked out. Many would have died. The ships tried to follow. Their inertial dampeners, designed for their lower gravity, strained to keep up. Crews began falling unconscious as their ships tried to match human maneuvers. "Weapons range in 15 seconds, Brandon said. Even under crushing acceleration, his voice stayed steady. All humans trained for this. 6,000 years of waiting meant 6,000 years of preparation. "Fire at will," ordered. The Resolutes opened up. Magnetically accelerated projectiles, simple and devastating. No fancy energy weapons, just solid slugs moving at significant fractions of the speed of light. The first ship exploded, then another and another. The human squadron tore through the formation like bullets through paper. They tried to respond, but their targeting computers could not keep up. Human ships moved too fast, turned too sharp, accelerated in ways that should have killed their crews. Watched his tactical display. 3 minutes into the battle and they had lost 50 ships. The human squadron had not lost one. "Sir, they are trying to adjust," Brandon reported. "Enemy ships are reducing acceleration to compensate." "Then they have already lost," said. "Slower ships are dead ships. All vessels, weapons free, hit them while they are vulnerable." The battle became a slaughter. Ships, trying to spare their crews from killing G-forces, became easy targets. Human ships, pushing their crews to the absolute limit of endurance, danced around them like sharks around whales. But numbers still mattered. 500 against 20 was still brutal odds. They began landing hits. The human ship Pioneer took damage to its engines and had to fall back. The Courage lost half its weapon systems. "Sir, we have inflicted major damage," Brandon said. "Estimate 250 enemy ships destroyed or disabled, but we are running low on ammunition and our ships are taking damage. Recommend withdrawal." Check the tactical situation. They had cut the enemy force in half. 20 ships against 500 had become 20 ships against 250. It was still impossible odds, but they had proven something important. Humans could fight, and humans could win. "All ships fall back to the inner system," ordered. "Execute withdrawal pattern, stay in formation." The human squadron turned as one and accelerated away. They tried to pursue but quickly fell behind. Human engines, designed for Earth's harsh solar environment, operated at higher efficiency. Human crews, evolved for a violent world, could push their ships harder. They learned 2 lessons in that first battle. First, humans were dangerous in ways they had not imagined. Second, the solar system was not going to be an easy conquest. Back on Earth, in a secure facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Foster watched the battle reports with satisfaction. She stood in front of a massive display showing the entire solar system. Every human ship, every station, every colony was marked. General stood beside her. "Your assessment, Doctor." Gestured at the display. "They expected to roll over us in days. That first battle cost them 500 ships and gained them nothing. At this rate, they will lose their entire fleet before they reach Earth." "They still have 10,000 ships," said. "We have 200. "They have 10,000 ships designed for normal species," corrected. "We have 200 ships designed by humans for humans. Every advantage Earth gave us, every hardship our ancestors survived, we have built into our vessels." She pulled up specifications for the Resolute and similar human warships. "Look at this. Ships are designed for comfort and efficiency. Standard gravity, filtered air, moderate radiation shielding. Their species evolved on a paradise world." "And we evolved on Earth," said Understanding. "Earth which tried to kill us for 100,000 years," said with fierce pride. "Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, ice ages, mass extinctions, and we survived them all. We adapted. We became tougher. And now we have had 6,000 years to turn those adaptations into weapons." She changed the display to show the human ship designs. "Our ships handle radiation that would cook crews. We operate closer to the sun than they dare. We withstand G-forces that crush them. We react faster because Earth taught us that slow reactions mean death. Studied the data, so we have advantages, but they still outnumber us 50 to 1. Which is why we do not fight them in open space," said. She gestured at the solar system map. "For 6,000 years we have been preparing this system, every asteroid base, every orbital station, every colony on every moon. They are not just homes, General, they are fortresses." The display updated. Markers appeared throughout the solar system. Weapon platforms, defense stations, missile pods, minefields, all hidden, all dormant, all waiting. "They think they are invading a solar system," said. They are wrong. They are walking into the biggest trap ever built. Allowed herself a small smile. How long until they realize it? They already are, said, pulling up new reports from the fleet. Look at their formation. They are spreading out, becoming cautious. They expected easy victory. Instead, they bled for every meter, and they have not even reached the inner system yet. More reports came in. Ships approaching Jupiter ran into human defenses hidden in the asteroid belt. Surprise attacks from hidden bases. Minefields in stable orbits. Missiles launched from cold, dormant platforms that woke only to kill. The fleet was taking losses before it fired a shot. Back on his ship, Lee received new orders. The squadron was to rearm, repair, and prepare for the next engagement. He looked at his crew. They were exhausted. Their bodies had endured crushing acceleration for hours, but they were alive, and they had won. Good work, everyone, said. Get some rest. We have bought Earth some time, but this is only the beginning. Lieutenant Brandon looked up from his station. Sir, fleet composition analysis is complete. They are not sending their best ships first. These were second-line vessels. Felt a chill. They are testing us. Yes, sir. The real war is still coming. Commander Gregory Park stood on the bridge of the Mars Defense Station and watched 2,000 enemy ships approach his planet. His planet. He had been born on Mars, raised in the domed cities, trained in the thin atmosphere. Mars was home to 15 million humans, and Gregory had sworn to protect every single one of them. All defense platforms reporting ready, his tactical officer reported. Ground batteries are charged. The fleet is in position. Gregory looked at his fleet, 80 ships. Against 2,000, the numbers were impossible, but humans had stopped believing in impossible a long time ago. Send a message to all civilian centers, Gregory said. Execute Evacuation Protocol Omega. I want every civilian in the underground shelters within the hour. Mars had been preparing for this since the day humans first landed there 3,000 years ago. Beneath the surface cities lay networks of tunnels and bunkers that stretched for thousands of kilometers. That could bomb the surface to glass. The people of Mars would survive deep below. The fleet slowed as it approached Mars orbit. High Commander, leading from his flagship, studied the human defenses with growing concern. The Neptune engagement had cost him 500 ships. Intelligence had said humans were weak, confined, unprepared. Intelligence had been wrong. But numbers still favored him. 2,000 ships versus 80. Even if humans fought like demons, the mathematics of war were simple. More guns won. All ships, ordered, advance to attack range, destroy the human fleet, then bombard the surface until they surrender. The armada moved forward like a metal tide. Their weapons powered up. Their shields glowed with energy. They filled the space around Mars like a swarm of locusts. Gregory watched them come. His hands were steady on the command console. He had trained for this moment his entire life. Every human had. 6,000 years of knowing war might come had created a civilization that never stopped preparing. All ships, Gregory said calmly. Hold position, wait for my command. They entered weapons range. Their ships spread into attack formation, a maneuver designed to overwhelm defenders with fire from multiple angles. It was textbook military doctrine, used successfully in 1,000 previous battles. Enemy ships powering weapons, the tactical officer said. They will fire in 30 seconds. Let them come closer, Gregory said. 20 seconds. His crew did not question him. They had learned to trust their commanders. 6,000 years of unity had taught humanity that survival meant working together without doubt or hesitation. 15 seconds. The ships opened fire early, unable to wait. Energy beams and missiles crossed the empty space. They struck human shields, ships rocked under the impact, alarms blared, but the human line held. Now, Gregory said, spring the trap. Mars itself seemed to explode with weapons fire. Hidden batteries on the surface, camouflaged to look like mining equipment and civilian structures, revealed themselves. Missile silos opened. Platforms emerged from underground bunkers. Orbital defense stations that had looked dormant suddenly blazed with power. They found themselves in a crossfire. Weapons struck them from the human fleet ahead, from Mars below, from orbital platforms they had dismissed as inactive. It was not 80 ships against 2,000. It was 80 ships plus 500 hidden weapons platforms plus ground defenses that had been preparing for 3,000 years. The battle became chaos. Ships broke formation, trying to avoid the unexpected firepower. Their targeting computers struggled to identify priorities. Everything was shooting at them. Gregory allowed himself a small smile. All ships execute pattern Gamma hit their command vessels. The human fleet did not fight for glory or territorial gain. They fought to hurt the enemy as much as possible before dying. It was a cold calculation, one that would horrify many civilized species. But humans had learned hard lessons about survival. Sometimes winning meant making the enemy pay such a terrible price that they wished they had never attacked. The human ships focused fire on command vessels, the larger ships carrying admirals and battle coordinators. These ships had more shields and more weapons, but they were also harder to hide. Human targeting computers, designed by 6,000 years of military theory, knew exactly where to aim. A command ship exploded, taking 800 crew with it. Another lost power and began drifting. A third took critical damage and retreated. But the numbers still told the story. 80 human ships, even with hidden defenses, could not stop 2,000 vessels. Human ships began to fall. The Defiant took a direct hit and broke apart. The Courage, already damaged from the Neptune battle, finally succumbed to concentrated fire. The Pioneer fought until its last weapon was destroyed, then rammed a cruiser, taking both ships to oblivion. "Sir, we have lost 40 ships," the tactical officer reported. Blood ran down his face from a console explosion, but he stayed at his post. "Defensive platforms are at 60% effectiveness. They are pushing through." Gregory studied the battle display. His fleet was dying, but they had taken 800 ships with them. 800 ships for 40. The exchange rate was brutally in humanity's favor, but mathematics still favored the. "Begin Phase 2, Gregory ordered. "All remaining ships execute fighting retreat, fall back to the inner moon defensive ring. All civilian evacuation teams report status." 95% of civilians are in shelter, came the response. "The remaining 5% will be secured in 10 minutes. "We do not have 10 minutes, Gregory said. "Get them underground now, any method necessary." He opened a channel to all remaining human forces. "Everyone listen. We are going to lose Mars. That was always the expected outcome. But we are going to make them bleed for it. Every ship, every platform, every gun battery, you will fight until you cannot fight anymore. Make them remember this day. Make them fear the cost of attacking humanity." The human defense did not collapse. It did not break. It simply fought harder. Captains, used to enemies surrendering when facing overwhelming odds, found themselves battling an opponent that refused to quit. Human ships with no weapons left used themselves as missiles. Platforms with failing power cores detonated themselves near enemy vessels. Even individual humans in damaged suits grabbed emergency rockets and turned themselves into guided munitions. They had superior technology. They had superior numbers. But they faced an opponent who refused to acknowledge that defeat was an option. General watched the Mars battle from Earth, her jaw tight. She had known Gregory since he was a young officer. She had trained him. Now she watched him die to buy Earth time. "Get me a secure line to Ambassador Laura," said. "We need to make sure the galaxy sees this." Ambassador Laura was not on Earth. She was in space, working behind enemy lines with moderate factions who opposed the war. She had been smuggled in by sympathetic dissidents who believed their government had gone too far. "General," Laura said when the secure channel opened, "I am watching the Mars battle. The whole galaxy is watching it." "Good," said. "Let them see what happens when you attack humanity. Let them see the cost." Laura understood. The government is claiming easy victories, but their citizens are seeing the casualty reports. 2,000 ships attacked Mars. They will be lucky if 1,000 leave. That is not victory, that is bloodbath. The Mars battle raged for 3 more hours. By the end, the flag flew over the empty surface cities. But those cities were ruins. The humans had evacuated everyone. 15 million people sat in deep shelters, alive and defiant. Commander Gregory Park died when his ship took a direct hit from 3 cruisers simultaneously. But before he died, he sent one final message to Earth. "We held them for 6 hours. We killed 800 of their ships. Tell Earth that Mars died fighting, and tell them that dying fighting is what humans do best." High Commander surveyed the captured planet from his flagship. Mars was his. But at what cost? He had entered the battle with 2,000 ships. He was leaving with barely 1,200. He had lost 40% of his attack force taking one colony world. And Earth was still ahead of him. Earth with its stronger defenses. Earth where 20 billion humans waited. For the first time since the war began, felt something he had not expected to feel. Fear. On Earth, General addressed her forces. Mars has fallen, but Mars cost them 800 ships. They have lost over 1,500 ships total, and they have not even reached Earth yet. Every battle shows them the same truth. Humans do not surrender. Humans do not panic. Humans fight until there is nothing left to fight with, and then they fight some more. She paused, looking at the faces of her officers. They thought 6,000 years of quarantine would make us soft. They thought being trapped would break our spirit. They were wrong. 6,000 years trapped in our own system turned us into something they cannot understand. We became patient. We became unified. We became absolutely, completely unwilling to give up. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Daniel Hayes received the Mars casualty reports. 40 ships lost. Commander Gregory dead. 800 ships destroyed. He opened a channel to all Earth forces. Mars fell today, but Mars taught the lesson: we cannot be conquered easily. We cannot be frightened into surrender. We are humanity. We survived ice ages and plagues and extinction events. We survived 6,000 years of imprisonment. We will. Captain Wright stood in the launch bay of Earth's most secret military installation. Before her sat the Shadow of Earth, a ship that officially did not exist. It was small, barely larger than a fighter craft. But it contained technology that humanity had spent 3,000 years developing. Perfect stealth technology. Final checks complete, engineer said, climbing down from the ship's maintenance hatch. All systems are green. She will get you there, Captain. Looked at her crew. 6 people total. Lieutenant Barnes on weapons. Pilot. Communications specialist Victor Lee. Dr. Helen Park, who would handle the actual mission objective. And technical officer who would keep their experimental systems running. Everyone understands the mission, said. It was not a question. We slip past the fleet, we reach there, we broadcast the truth, then we get out. Or die trying, said with dark humor. Or die trying, agreed. But if we succeed, we change this war. The people do not want this fight. Their government forced it on them. When they see proof, they will rise against their leaders. Handed a data drive. Everything you need is on here. Intercepted communications, evidence of the conspiracy, proof that humanity never violated the treaty. Make sure the galaxy sees it. Pocketed the drive. We will. The Shadow of Earth launched quietly, slipping away from Earth under total stealth. Its hull was coated with materials that absorbed sensor signals. Its engines were baffled to minimize heat signature. Its power core was shielded to hide its energy output. To every sensor in known space, the Shadow of Earth simply did not exist. It took them 4 days to reach the 4 days of holding their breath every time a patrol passed nearby. 4 days of watching the war reports from home grow worse. The fleet had reached the inner solar system. They were preparing for the final assault on Earth. Humanity had every remaining ship, every weapon, every soldier ready. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. But had a different battle to fight. Approaching, reported from the pilot's seat. Orbital defenses are heavy, counting over 500 defense platforms and at least 200 patrol ships. Can we slip through? Asked. Studied her instruments. Their sensors are configured for military threats, large ships with active weapons and drives. We are small and cold. Yes, I can get us through. The Shadow of Earth glided through the defenses like a ghost. Once a patrol ship passed within 100 meters, held her breath, but the sensors showed nothing. They were invisible. Establishing orbit, said, we are in position. Turn to Victor. Begin broadcast, maximum power. I want every communication device on this planet to receive our signal. Victor activated the transmission package. It was not subtle. It was not quiet. The moment they broadcast, every defense system would detect them. They would have minutes at most before warships converged on their position. The broadcast began. Images and data flooded across every communication network. Intercepted messages from government officials admitting the war was based on lies. Recordings of military planning sessions where admirals discussed attacking humanity before they became strong enough to challenge dominance. Evidence that humanity had never developed prohibited weapons, that the treaty violations were fabricated. And most damning of all, casualty reports. The government had told their people the war was going well, that human forces were collapsing. The truth was that the Empire had already lost 2,000 ships. That number was higher than all military casualties in the previous 500 years combined. On the billions watched in shock as the truth poured across their screens. The government tried to shut down the broadcast, but Victor had designed it to replicate across every network. Cutting one transmission just made 10 more appear. "We have maybe 3 minutes before forces reach us," warned, watching tactical displays. "Multiple ships are breaking orbit to intercept." "Keep broadcasting," ordered. "Every second counts." On the protests began. Citizens poured into the streets. They had been told this war was necessary, righteous, defensive. Now they learned it was aggressive, unprovoked, and costing thousands of lives for nothing but political gain. Ambassador Laura watched the protests from her hidden location on another colony. She had been working with moderate factions for weeks, building support for peace. Its broadcast was the spark that ignited change. "The government is in chaos," her contact told her. "Military commanders are refusing orders. Some colonies are declaring they will not support the war. Your captain did it. She changed everything." Laura allowed herself hope. "Can you get a message to the fleet at Earth? Tell them to hold on. Help is coming." Back on the shadow of Earth, alarms blazed. 6 warships incoming, reported. "They have weapons lock." "Time to leave," said. "Get us out of here." But shook her head. "Sir, they have surrounded us. They are not trying to destroy us. They want to capture us." Understood immediately. A captured human stealth ship would be worth more than any victory in battle. The technology alone would change the balance of power. "Then we do not let them capture us," said. She turned to final gift, a self-destruct system built into the ship's core. "Everyone to the escape pods, now." "Captain, we will not make it," protested. "They will shoot down the pods." "Maybe," said, "but maybe not. Maybe some captain out there will decide that killing 6 humans in escape pods is not worth it. Maybe our broadcast changed some minds. We have to try." The crew piled into the 3 escape pods, took one final look at the shadow of Earth. Beautiful ship, revolutionary technology, about to become cosmic debris. She hit the self-destruct and ejected. The shadow of Earth exploded 3 seconds later, taking her secrets with her. The ships closed in on the escape pods, waited for weapons fire. It did not come. Instead, a ship opened a communication channel. "Human vessels, do not resist. You will not be harmed. We are taking you into custody." They were captured, but they were alive, and more importantly, their mission had succeeded. There was in chaos. The truth was spreading across the Empire like a virus. At Earth, the final battle began. Engineer watched from his command center as the fleet entered Earth's orbital space. 5,000 ships, the largest force ever assembled, against humanity's final defense of 150 ships. But had been waiting for this moment for 30 years, since the day he had been recruited into humanity's most secret defense project. "Activate the network," he ordered. Across the solar system, hidden weapons platforms came to life. Not hundreds, not thousands, tens of thousands. For 6,000 years, humanity had been building defenses. Every asteroid that was mined, every moon that was colonized, every orbit that was mapped, humans had hidden weapons. The solar system was not just humanity's home. It was humanity's fortress, and every single human had helped build it. Defense platforms disguised as commercial satellites revealed missile pods. Mining stations activated hidden, apparently dormant orbital structures suddenly blazed with power. The entire solar system had been turned into a weapon. The fleet found itself in a crossfire that came from every direction. Weapons that had slept for centuries woke hungry. Systems that looked abandoned turned out to be dormant predators. Space that seemed empty was actually filled with death. "Fire everything," said quietly. "Show them what 6,000 years of preparation looks like." High Commander watched his tactical display with horror. Every reading was red, threats from every angle. His fleet was surrounded by weapons platforms that should not exist. How had humans hidden so much? Then he understood. 6,000 years. Humans had spent 6,000 years trapped in this system. 6,000 years with nothing to do but prepare for the day someone attacked them. Every generation built more defenses. Every year added more weapons. 6,000 years of preparation had created a defensive network that was simply impossible to overcome. All ships ordered, fall back, retreat to outer system, we cannot fight through this. But retreating through a defensive network designed over was not easy. Ships died by the dozens trying to escape. Minefields they had safely passed on the way and had moved position. Platforms they had as harmless revealed hidden weapons. The humans had spent 6,000 years thinking about how to defend their home, and they had thought of everything. Admiral Daniel Hayes watched the retreat with grim satisfaction. All human ships pursue but maintain safe distance. Let the defensive network do its job. The fleet fled. Out of 5,000 ships that had entered Earth's orbital space, barely 3,000 escaped. 2,000 ships destroyed in a single day, and Earth still stood, defiant and undefeated. In a prison, Captain watched news broadcasts of the battle. She smiled. Her mission had worked. The people were protesting. The military was in disarray, and Earth had held. A guard approached her cell, a young, barely old enough to serve. "Captain Wright," he said quietly. "Many of us watched your broadcast. We did not know. We thought humans were the aggressors. We were wrong." Looked at him. "War makes fools of us all. The question is whether we are wise enough to stop before the war ended not with a bang but with silence." The fleet to the outer solar system and stopped moving. For 3 days there was no fighting, no messages, just waiting. Admiral Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the enemy fleet hold position just beyond Neptune. 3,000 ships, still more than enough to threaten Earth. But they were not moving. Something had changed. "Sir, incoming transmission," the communications officer said. "It is from the fleet. They are requesting to speak with human leadership." "Put them on screen," Daniel said. The activated, but instead of High Commander, a different appeared, younger with markings that indicated a lower rank. "I am Fleet Commander K," the said. "High Commander has been relieved of command. I speak for those who wish this war to end." Daniel kept his expression neutral. "What are your terms?" "We have no terms," K said. "We are requesting a ceasefire. Our government is collapsing. The truth of this war has reached our people. We ask only that you allow us to withdraw with our remaining ships." Daniel was silent for a long moment. Every instinct said to press the advantage. The fleet was demoralized. The defensive network could destroy them if they tried to flee. Humanity could end the empire right now. But Daniel thought about 6,000 years of waiting, about what humanity had learned in that time. Strength was not just about winning battles. It was about winning the peace that followed. "You may withdraw," Daniel said. "But this is not over. Humanity will be at the negotiating table when the new government forms, and we will be speaking for more than just ourselves." Kay seemed to understand. "There are others like you, others who were quarantined, others who were trapped." "Yes," Daniel said, "and they have been watching this war. They have seen what happens when you push humans too far. They will have questions." The fleet began its long journey home. It would take months, and in those months the galaxy would change. Ambassador Laura sat in the Galactic Assembly for the first time without restrictions. The Treaty of Terra had been dissolved by emergency vote. Humanity was free, but freedom came with responsibilities. "The Empire attacked us because they feared change," Laura said to the assembled representatives of 40 spacefaring species. "They feared that humanity would upset the balance of power that has existed for millions of years, and they were right to fear it, because that balance was unjust." She pulled up data on her display. "For thousands of years, the older species have maintained control by suppressing younger ones. Humanity was quarantined, but we were not alone. 18 other species have been confined to their home systems under similar treaties. 18 species declared too dangerous, too aggressive, too unpredictable to be allowed freedom." The assembly chamber erupted in discussion. Some species had not known about the other quarantines. Others had known but never questioned it. "The Empire is not unique," Laura continued. "The Collective has quarantined 3 species. The hegemony of light has confined 5. Even some of the Council species here have enforced these prisons. You did it because you feared competition. You did it because maintaining power was easier than accepting change." An old representative stood. "Young species must be controlled. History shows they are dangerous." "Dangerous to whom?" Laura asked sharply. "To others or to your power. Humanity was called dangerous. We proved it by defending ourselves, but we did not attack anyone. We did not invade. When we had the chance to destroy the fleet, we let them withdraw. Is that the action of a dangerous species or a just one?" General watched the assembly broadcast from Earth. Laura was magnificent. 6,000 years of isolation had not broken humanity. It had given them time to learn patience, diplomacy, and how to argue for justice. "General," one of her aides said, "we have received requests from 12 quarantined species. They want to know if humanity will support them." Smiled, "Of course we will. That was always the plan. We did not fight just for ourselves. We fought for everyone who has been trapped." She opened a secure channel to Laura. "Ambassador, you have authorization to propose the Freedom Initiative. Let us see if the galaxy is ready for real change." Laura received the authorization and stood again in the assembly. "Humanity proposes the Freedom Initiative. All quarantine treaties are to be dissolved. All confined species are to be given full rights within the galactic community. In exchange, humanity offers technology sharing, defensive alliances, and cooperation in maintaining galactic peace." "You cannot be serious," the representative said. "Releasing 18 species all at once, it will destabilize everything." "Good," Laura said coldly. "Your stability was built on injustice. It is time for something better." The vote took 3 days. In the end, the Freedom Initiative passed by narrow margin, not because most species supported it, but because they feared what would happen if they opposed it. Humanity had proven they could fight. 18 other species, if united with humanity, would be unstoppable. Better to accept change than face war. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted. For the first time in 6,000 years, humans could leave their solar system freely. Ships prepared for journeys to distant stars. Colonies planned for new worlds. The age of quarantine was over. But Captain Wright, released from custody as part of the peace agreement, stood apart from the celebrations. She found Admiral Daniel at a memorial service for the fallen. "We lost a lot of people," said quietly. "Mars alone cost us 8,000 military personnel. Total casualties are over 30,000. Daniel nodded. "A terrible price, but we saved billions. If we had surrendered, they would have supervised us forever, controlled every aspect of our civilization. That is not living." "Was it worth it?" asked. Daniel was quiet for a long time. 6,000 years ago, humanity made a choice. Sign the treaty or die. We signed because we were not ready to fight. But from that day forward, every generation knew the truth. We were prisoners. Every human child learned it. Every human adult worked toward the day we would be free. He gestured at the memorial, names of the fallen scrolling past on massive displays. "These people died for freedom, not just ours, for 18 other species who were trapped like us, for a galaxy that needed to change but was too afraid to do it on its own. Yes, Captain, it was worth it." Months later, Captain Santos stood on the bridge of the first human exploration ship to leave the solar system. The ship was called the Pathfinder, and it carried a crew of scientists, diplomats, and dreamers. "Final checks complete," her first officer reported. "We are ready to depart." Looked at Earth one last time. Home, the planet that had forged humanity in fire and ice, the cradle that had protected them for 6,000 years of waiting. "Take us out," ordered. "Set course for Alpha, let us see what is out there." The Pathfinder accelerated past the old boundary, the invisible line that humans had not been allowed to cross for 6,000 years. There were no alarms, no warships waiting, just open space and infinite possibility. On Earth, Admiral Daniel watched the departure on his display. Beside him stood former High Commander, now a prisoner awaiting trial for war crimes. "You should have left us alone," Daniel said quietly. "We would have eventually been freed. The treaty could not last forever, but you forced war, and war taught the galaxy that humanity cannot be broken." Looked at the display, watching the human ship disappear into the stars. "My people feared you would dominate the galaxy. Now you will." "No," Daniel said. "We will explore it, we will trade with it, we will defend those who need defending. But domination, that is what old empires do. We are something new." He turned to face directly. "Your empire attacked us because you feared change. You lost because you could not understand what 6,000 years of waiting had created. We did not become soft. We became patient. We did not break. We became unified. Every human knew this day might come. Every human prepared for it. That is what made us unbeatable." "What happens now?" asked. "Now," Daniel smiled. "Now humanity joins the galaxy. We bring our friends with us. The 18 quarantined species are already preparing their own ships. In 10 years, the galaxy will have 19 new spacefaring civilizations, all united by shared experience of injustice. In 20 years, the old power structures will be dust. In 50 years, the galaxy will look back and wonder how they ever thought quarantine was acceptable. He turned back to the display. You tried to destroy us at our weakest moment. Instead, you showed the galaxy what we are capable of. Thank you for that. Future generations of humans will remember the war as the moment we proved ourselves. The moment we stood against impossible odds and refused to break. Ambassador Laura gave her final address to the Galactic Assembly a year after the war ended. This past year has changed everything. 19 formerly quarantined species now travel the stars. Trade routes are forming. New alliances are being built. The old empires are adapting or dying. She paused, looking around the chamber. Some of you still fear us. Some of you believe releasing humanity was a mistake. You look at our weapons, our defenses, our refusal to surrender, and you see danger. Let me tell you what you should see instead. Laura pulled up an image. It showed a human ship and a vessel, one of the formerly quarantined species, working together to build a trade station. You should see cooperation. Humanity did not emerge from quarantine seeking revenge. We sought justice. We fought a war we did not want because we refused to accept continued imprisonment. But the moment the war ended, we chose peace. That is what 6,000 years taught us. Patience, unity, the understanding that survival means working together. You feared humanity would be aggressive and violent. We are when threatened. But given the choice between war and peace, we will always choose peace, because we remember what it cost to win our freedom. She looked directly at the camera, knowing billions across the galaxy watched. To the younger species still developing, you are not alone. Humanity remembers what it was like to be weak and afraid. We will help you. To the formerly quarantined species, we stand with you. Your fight is our fight. And to the old empires, adapt or be left behind. The galaxy is changing. Change with it or become history. The assembly session ended. Laura walked out to find General waiting for her. Good speech, said. Think they understood. Some did, Laura replied. Others will need time, but that is fine. Humanity learned patience. We can wait for the galaxy to catch up. They walked together toward the human embassy, past representatives from a dozen species. Some nodded in respect. Others looked away in fear. All of them knew one truth. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had stood unyielding against impossible odds, and in doing so they had proven that even ancient powers could fall, that justice mattered more than tradition, that freedom was worth any price. The age of quarantine was over. The age of humanity had begun, and the stars, after 6,000 years of waiting, were finally within reach. Too many die. The guard nodded slowly. The government is falling, peace factions are gaining power, this war will end soon. Hoped he was right, but even if he was wrong, humanity had proven something. They could not be conquered. 6,000 years of waiting had forged them into something unbreakable, and the galaxy would remember. The fleet regrouped beyond Mars' orbit. They had won, but they had paid for every meter with blood, and Earth still waited ahead, defended by forces that had just watched Mars die fighting. Studied his casualty reports with growing dread. His superiors demanded he take Earth within days. But at this rate, he would lose his entire fleet before reaching the inner system. How did you conquer a species that simply refused to stop fighting? Looked at the tactical display showing the massive fleet still entering the solar system. Thousands of ships, the greatest armada ever assembled, all coming to destroy humanity. But humanity had been waiting for this moment for 6,000 years. Every human knew this day might come. Every human had trained for it. Every human was ready. Earth would not fall easily, and they were about to learn that sometimes the prey is more dangerous than the hunter. They have given us one day to surrender. I am telling them now, we refuse. He opened a channel directly to the fleet. His message was simple, his words clear. High Commander, hear me. We have waited 6,000 years. We will wait no longer. If you want Earth, come and take it. The die was cast. The ancient peace was broken. The fleet began to move deeper into the solar system, and humanity prepared for war.